Yes, I actually looked at the newsletter that started all this called Perspectives on Being Human, and it was published February 2006, so it's wonderful to have this chance to reflect on
whose newsletter.
So the newsletter was published by the Rex Foundation, and that during my tenure as executive director of Rex, which was from 2001 to 2013. And the Rex Foundation is the charitable organization that was started by the Grateful Dead in 1983 to make grants to wonderful grassroots programs. And I had the privilege of leading the organization for those 12 years. And part of my work was to connect with our community I published newsletters each year on issues that were of importance to our grantees. And I chose in 2006 to discuss the human rights framework, because we had been asked by Susan Pritzker, who's featured in the newsletter from the Lieber Foundation, how we incorporated human rights in our work. And I had answered very glibly that it was in our genetic coding, and that was understood by Susan. However, I felt this was an important concept that needed more attention, and so I published the newsletter, Perspectives on Being Human, and in it we describe the human rights framework as this idea that different endeavors to right wrongs and to further the well-being of all people, whether it's for civil rights or women's rights or disability rights, that all of these different endeavors could be seen as unified by the concept of human rights. And we included in the newsletter the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the framework that was adopted by the UN General Assembly on December 10th, 1948, under the leadership of Eleanor Roosevelt, to provide the guide that all relatively new members of the then new United Nations would agree to uphold for the peoples of their countries, so as to prevent world wars and holocausts and horrible behaviors that had caused so much destruction and terrible consequences to people. And so the Universal Declaration of Human Rights spells out 30 articles of rights that every single human being is entitled to experience across every community across the world. And then my desire was to bring the idea of the human rights framework and the importance of the Universal Declaration to life. And I wound up beginning to do some work with the Mime Troupe Youth Theater Project, one of Rex's grantees, in April of 2006. And that led to a project that involved the Mime Troupe Youth Theater Project, Destiny Arts Center, another Rex grantee that uses dance and martial arts to help youth deal with social justice issues, as well as Youth Speaks, the organization that uses spoken word to help youth express ideas about social justice issues of concern to them. And we wound up creating, we commissioned a production that would feature high school youth to express their ideas on the importance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and what it stands for. And we called that production The World as It Could Be, a Declaration of Human Rights. The name came from one of the members of the Mime Troupe management team looking at the newsletter and the Universal Declaration and saying, my goodness, I didn't know this document existed, and yet it spells out the world as it could be. And that is what got us going. On December 8th, 2006, we put this production on at Balboa High School in San Francisco, which happened to be the high school that Jerry Garcia attended. We had a lot of synchronicity. And that presentation to a full house of 1,200 students and faculty led to the development of our curriculum. What we found was that the young people learning about the Universal Declaration got very excited about what it stood for and what it represented, and the way they grasped their understanding was the use of the creative arts, different activities that helped them reflect more deeply on concepts like, what does freedom of speech really mean? How do you depict that in a dramatic pose or in spoken word that reflects their ideas on what these different concepts are? And having the opportunity to present these ideas in front of their peers and adults gave the youth an opportunity to be the teachers. That was very exciting to them, and it became a form of a rite of passage where they went through this process of learning and the ordeal of creating something and then publicly presenting it and having their accomplishments really celebrated by the audience. So with that, we actually started working with Balboa High School and with Arroyo High School that's located not far from where we're sitting today, which I'll explain in a moment, to pilot curriculum that would include the creative arts as a vehicle to teach the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and also to include a culminating presentation to have the youth present their ideas in front of their school communities. We felt this was important because we kept learning that, and we still understand from the work we've done, that only 7% of the U.S. population knows that the Universal Declaration exists. And yet it is supposed to be taught in high school history. It's in the California standards. And we now know that our curriculum conforms to the Common Core that has become such an important part of education. But we felt like this is something that should be taught, and that the arts weren't being properly funded in the public school venues, and we thought this would be an opportunity to not only have this important concept taught in academic classes and see the arts as a vital part of a quality education, but that we would have the opportunity for youth to fully grasp why the Universal Declaration was such an important part of their lives and the world around them. So that's how we got started. And we published our full curriculum in 2010, continuing our work with particularly Balboa High School and Arroyo High School here. And then we had the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with the University of San Francisco's multicultural, their International Multicultural Department of their School of Education, which has a human rights emphasis for graduate students in education. And we began in 2010 to put on 3-day institutes in collaboration with USF to train teachers on the use of our curriculum. And so we just completed this past August our 6th institute, with USF providing 2 continuing education units to participating teachers, which is a very exciting credit to our program. And we also then had Fremont High School. At that time, Mandela High School was one of our teachers, and there were participants in our first institute, and they too became a kind of champion school. So we've had 3 high schools in the Bay Area that we've worked steadily with since basically 2007. We've put on these institutes. We've had the pleasure of presenting at conferences like the California Council for Teaching of the Social Studies. We're about to do our 4th presentation at the California Teachers Association Human Rights and Equity Conference. So we're conducting outreach to reach as many teachers and leaders of nonprofits on how to use our curriculum. We've even gone so far as to being in Prince George's County, Maryland for a terrific 3-day institute in 2014. So we have had a lot happen since that time. And one of the big kind of transitions is that in 2013, I had the pleasure of meeting Frederick Marks, who is known for his work on Hoop Dreams. He's a documentary filmmaker. And we met, and he and I found we had a very common connection around the importance of rites of passage for youth. As I explained, our curriculum and the importance of having a culminating presentation that was a form of a rite of passage, he explained his documentary film work was currently on the importance of rites of passage for youth, and to have youth initiated by the elders of their community. And so we put on a great program at Balboa High School in March of 2013 where he presented the importance of rites of passage, and we connected it to the work of human rights education as well. In that audience was Hilary Bass and Marty Nydopper of the Alameda County Deputy Sheriff's Activities League. And at that time, that was just before the Reach Ashland Youth Center was about to open. And that's where we're sitting today. The Reach Ashland Youth Center came about after about 9 years of very active work in the community, led by Hilary and the youth that were part of her youth leadership program, who advocated vigorously in the community to have a safe place for youth to be. And so in May of 2013, the Reach Center opened. The terrific thing about what Reach provided is its leadership structure. Reach stands for Recreation, Education, the Arts, Career, and Health. And each of those elements have program areas at Reach that are provided by different agencies of Alameda County. So the recreation programs are provided by DSAL, the Deputy Sheriff's Activities League. The educational programs are provided by the San Lorenzo School District, interestingly, where Arroyo is situated. The arts are provided by the Arts Commission. Career is provided by a wonderful nonprofit society. And health is provided by La Fuente Wellness Clinic, which provides free health care for the youth. And so what we had was basically a beautiful location of collaborative, what I'll call elders, guiding youth. And this was a perfect venue to create an extended rite of passage program that could build on the concepts of our curriculum. And so we began working on that in November of 2013, and I was fortunate to be able to retire from the Rex Foundation with a wonderful successor who is leading it into its continuing new direction, and have the World as It Could Be become part of a program of the Deputy Sheriff's Activities League. And one of our key initiatives, which we introduced last September of 2014, was a 9-month rite of passage program that we call The World as It Could Be is Within Reach.